So tell your mama dig her up and post a picture that look better than my mama.
That was King Harris running his mouth just weeks ago, loud and bold for everybody to see.
My dad is dig that up. How y'all raised? I'm not raised like.
Now the same guy looks like he's pleading with the very man he went after, and the switch up is hard to ignore.
Go. I'm not going about my mama, nigga. I'm not going.
50 Cent is reportedly lining up a documentary that could seriously shake the Harris family. And if even half of the rumors floating around are true, this situation could get messy real fast.
So tell your mama dig her ass up and post a picture that look better than my mother.
King might end up regretting every single word he put out there, because this isn't just talk anymore. This is turning into something way bigger than a back and forth online. Here's where things start getting serious.
Well, look at here. Now get the fuck out of it. Look at this, man. Things will get worse before they get better, or they will get better before they get worse. But this right here, I don't know what it is. I don't think it's Photoshop. But this is crazy, little King Harris. I'm not saying this is true, but it's over, man. This zesty video of Harris or whatever he was doing, I don't know, but this looks real caring and zesty.
In early March 2026, whispers started spreading that 50 Cent was working on a project called Surviving T.I. and Tiny, and that title alone had people raising eyebrows. But before any of that dropped, King Harris was already deep in the drama, going all in against 50 with zero hesitation.
Come here, broski, come here, broski. I talk about King Harris, man, T.I.'s son. Dropped the 50 Cent diss track.
He wasn't quiet about it either. He pushed videos, dropped diss tracks, printed up shirts, even rolled out a cannabis product, all aimed straight at 50. Nothing about it was low-key. Nothing was subtle. It was loud, direct, and meant to provoke. To understand why this whole situation flipped, you have to look at how far King actually took it. This wasn't just normal rap beef energy. It went personal in a way that most people in hip-hop avoid completely. In one viral clip, King said, "Your mama, daddy, I'm not raised like that," trying to defend his stance after 50 posted an unflattering image of his mother, Tiny. But instead of keeping it controlled, things escalated fast, and the tone shifted into something a lot more intense. King didn't hold back at all. He turned his focus toward 50 Cent's late mother, Sabrina Jackson, who passed away in a fire when 50 was just a child. He kept saying, "Don't talk about my mama, I'm not going for that," repeating it like a warning, but at the same time stepping into territory that many people consider off limits.
My boy, this might be the best song you've ever dropped in your entire life. However, I wasn't going to say it was a good tune, but it is the best in your entire life. Factually give you that one. I ain't even gonna hold. So he dropped a diss track. So if you haven't seen, 50 Cent posted his mom, T.I. dropped a diss track as well. You know, 50 Cent and T.I. been going back and forth. Obviously, man like King got involved now because obviously after 50 Cent posted his mom, enough was enough for him.
That's where the backlash started building, because while he was demanding respect, he crossed the line by bringing up someone who isn't here to respond. Now with this documentary talk heating up, people are looking back at those moments differently, and the pressure on King is starting to feel very real. That detail right there is why everything flipped on him, and why 50 Cent didn't just respond, he escalated the situation to another level. King didn't just cross a line, he sprinted past it, and people noticed fast. At one point, things got so extreme that the message being pushed was basically, go dig up your mama and post something better. And that kind of talk instantly rubbed people the wrong way. And it didn't stop with just one video either, not even close. King doubled down in a way that shocked a lot of people watching. He wore a t-shirt with Sabrina Jackson's image printed on it, turning something deeply personal into a public statement. Then he went even further by launching a cannabis strain called Ms. Jack Pack, with packaging that featured her likeness, making the whole situation feel even more intense and uncomfortable for many viewers.
He also then got and dropped a diss track. Listen, I listened to the joint. It's the first time I ever looked in for a King Harris joint, and I'm not gonna hold you, it wasn't that bad.
Music was part of it too, and that added more heat. He dropped diss tracks, including one called Drop Top, where he said lines like, "You were made from 50 cents because your mama gave it cheap." That line alone had people pausing, replaying, and reacting all over social media. Some tried to frame it as a young man standing up for his family, but most people saw it differently. They saw a 21-year-old pushing things way too far just to get attention online, and 50 Cent known for playing the long game and never forgetting anything, was watching every move carefully. Every post, every product, every lyric, it all got clocked. Meanwhile, the internet did what it always does. Nothing disappeared. Screenshots were saved instantly, videos kept circulating, and commentary pages broke everything down piece by piece. It created a digital trail that couldn't be erased, no matter how much time passed or how anyone tried to explain it later. That record ended up being bigger than just old drama. It became proof of how far things went. So when talk of the documentary started heating up, those moments weren't just stories anymore. They were receipts.
It's not a good song. I'll kind of dibble and dabble in other songs he dropped before. Terrible. I'll put them straight in the bin. But listen, sometimes you gotta say, maybe this is what you need to get in your little rap band.
Once those rumors dropped, the narrative basically built itself overnight. King had pushed things too far, and now 50 looked like he had the ultimate move ready to shut everything down completely. Suddenly, the shift in King's energy started making sense, because when something that big is possibly coming, anyone will feel the pressure. To really understand how it reached this point, you have to rewind the story back to where it all began, way before King was even part of the picture, back to the history between 50 Cent and T.I. This whole situation didn't start with King Harris at all, not even close. It wasn't born from diss tracks, Instagram clips, or talk of documentaries. This goes way further back, to two heavyweights who came up at the same time but from completely different sides of the map and spent years moving around each other with quiet tension building underneath. Back in 2003, 50 Cent dropped Get Rich or Die Trying, an album packed with raw stories about surviving 9 gunshots and fighting his way out of Queens, New York. That project didn't just sell, it took over and stamped his place in the game instantly. That same year, T.I. came through with Trap Music, a project that helped shape Atlanta's sound and pushed him into the spotlight as the self-proclaimed King of the South. 2 different sounds, 2 different cities, but both dominating at the same time and building massive followings. Both artists moved serious numbers, and both had strong loyalty behind them from their regions. And at that time, the gap between New York and the South wasn't just about style, it was deeper than that. It showed up in album sales, radio spins, award nominations, and industry recognition. Even when nobody said it out loud, that competitive energy was always there, like a quiet standoff that never fully went away.
Antagonize you a little bit, pause. Anyways, listen. Decent song. Ain't gonna get 50 Cent responding though. He might do a little meme on the Instagram thing. This is the thing, like 50 Cent ain't gonna drop a tune. I said this when T.I. dropped the joint. Don't expect back and forth music. 50 Cent's an unk. He ain't really out here doing music anyway. My guy's making movies and TV shows and whatever power he's gonna bring out next. You feel me? Like every time there's a power thing, power that, power ebook, power book 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
For years, things stayed calm on the surface. No direct diss tracks, no explosive interviews, no viral clashes. Just 2 major figures coexisting in the same space, either out of respect or just choosing not to engage. But that calm didn't last forever, because everything shifted around 2020 when Versus hit the scene during the pandemic. Created by Swizz Beatz and Timbaland, Versus turned into a huge moment where legendary artists faced off by playing their biggest hits live. And that's when T.I. started calling out 50 Cent publicly, pushing for a matchup and making it known he wanted that spotlight moment. He even brought up the 2007 sales battle between 50's Curtis and Kanye West's Graduation, a moment 50 famously lost, which led him to step back from music for a while. By bringing that up, T.I. wasn't just suggesting a friendly competition, he was poking at history and putting pressure on 50 in front of everyone. What used to be quiet tension suddenly had a spotlight on it, and once that door opened, it was only a matter of time before things started getting louder and way more personal. T.I. kept pushing the idea that he had everything it takes to go head-to-head, the catalog, the hits, and the cultural weight to match 50 Cent bar for bar. He didn't just say it once either, he took that message everywhere he could. Podcasts, radio interviews, Instagram lives, he stayed on it, building the narrative that this was a battle the culture needed to see happen. But 50 wasn't going for it at all. Time after time, he shut it down publicly, whether it was on Instagram, in interviews, or during podcast appearances. He made it clear he wasn't interested, and he didn't sugarcoat it either. Instead, he pointed to his TV success, especially the Power franchise on Stars, as proof that he had moved into a completely different lane. To him, music battles felt like something from the past, something he had already outgrown. That response hit hard, and not just because he said no. It was how he said it that really got under T.I.'s skin. 50 didn't treat it like a serious offer. He brushed it off like it wasn't even worth discussing, like T.I. was reaching for a seat at a table he hadn't earned. That kind of energy doesn't just fade away, especially for someone who spent years claiming the title of King of the South and backing it up with real success.
At this point, I just want to know if T.I. and Tiny is looking for some new kids. Because I'm trying to be a part of the Harris family. And listen, I could bring my mama too, so y'all don't even really gotta do too much. I could bring my mama with me. King Harris just released a diss song at the same time as his brother Damani. And yes, that is 50 Cent's mama.
So from T.I.'s perspective, this wasn't just rejection, it felt like straight up disrespect. He didn't see it as 50 being uninterested, he saw it as fear mixed with ego. And that interpretation kept the tension alive. The back and forth didn't explode right away, but it stayed active in small bursts online, just enough to keep things heated without turning into a full-on war. That uneasy balance held for a long time until everything cracked wide open in February 2026. That's when T.I. showed up on Shannon Sharpe's Nightcap podcast and took things to another level. He didn't hold back at all, straight up calling 50 Cent a coward and claiming that behind closed doors, 50 had actually been open to doing verses at one point. According to T.I., the energy changed when things went public, and that's when 50 backed off and switched his stance completely. Bringing that up wasn't random either. It was a calculated move meant to expose what he saw as inconsistency and put pressure on 50 in front of a huge audience. And once those words were out there, the situation couldn't go back to quiet tension anymore. It was fully out in the open and picking up serious momentum. T.I. turned up the pressure by dropping a diss track called Let 'Em Know, and he made sure it hit different by filming it right in New York City, 50 Cent's home turf. That move alone sent a message, bold and intentional. In the track, T.I. went straight at 50's age, his shift into acting, and what he described as contradictions in 50's tough guy image, questioning whether that persona still held up. But 50 didn't fire back with music, not even a little. Instead, he played it smarter and way more strategic. He pulled up an old clip from a 2003 legal situation involving T.I., one that suggested cooperation with law enforcement, and dropped it back into the spotlight. That wasn't just a response, that was a calculated hit. In hip-hop, being labeled a snitch carries serious weight.
King Harris is doing exactly what Diddy thought his son was going to be doing for him. Because why is he taking it so far? Well, actually, no, I can't say I don't understand why he's taking it so far. I understand, but I just didn't expect it to come from him. Because 50 Cent has attacked so many people. He has gone off on so many people in like the worst way. And it doesn't seem like anyone has been able to meet him where he's at or is a good match for him. And it just so happens that it's randomly T.I.'s son, like, because he's digging up old things from 50 Cent's past to the point where I think 50 Cent took down the post of him making fun of his mom.
It's not just an insult, it affects credibility, image, and overall standing in the culture. With that one move, 50 flipped the entire narrative. This wasn't about hit songs or catalogs. That conversation was done. Now it became about character, about reputation, about who people believed and who they respected. And once things reached that level, it's hard to pull them back. That moment changed everything. And you can trace all the chaos that followed right back to it. The family getting pulled in, the diss tracks getting more personal, the shocking comments, even the talk of a documentary. All of it grew from that shift. What started as competition turned into something way more serious, something that couldn't be smoothed over with a handshake or ignored online. Once that line was crossed, It stopped being entertainment and started looking like a long-term battle over damage and control. And 50 Cent isn't new to that kind of game at all. He's built a reputation for using media, strategy, and timing to completely flip situations in his favor. And he's done it before the people who underestimated him. That's where the real imbalance shows up. T.I. came with music, with bars, with direct energy, but 50 came with something bigger, a whole production machine behind him, connections, platforms, and the ability to tell stories on a massive scale. That difference in power started shaping everything that came next, and it set the stage for how this situation would pull in more than just the two of them. Stepping into a situation like that without fully understanding how intense it could get is risky, and that's exactly what happened with King Harris. He walked straight into a fire that was already burning, not realizing how far things could spiral once he got involved. By the time King entered the picture, the tension between 50 Cent and T.I. was already personal, already heated, but his involvement changed everything. What was once a back and forth between two major figures quickly turned into a family situation, spreading across social media and pulling in way more attention than before. King Harris, born August 25, 1904, didn't grow up in the shadows. He was raised in front of cameras. He appeared on VH1's T.I. and Tiny: The Family Hustle, a show that ran from 2011 to 2017 and gave people a close look at the family's everyday life. Because of that, people already felt like they knew him, and they had been watching him develop his personality for years.
It got that bad that 50 Cent took the post down. King is going to the gravesite, or I think he got pictures of 50 Cent's mom, headstone, posted that, talking about go dig her up and tell me what she looks like.
By the time this situation escalated, King was 21 years old, at that point where he had full control over his choices but was still moving with a lot of emotion. He had already built a reputation for being outspoken, especially through viral clips from the show where he had intense arguments with his parents and didn't hold anything back. That energy followed him right into this conflict, and this time the stakes were much higher. What pulled King directly into the situation wasn't random, it came from a specific moment. During one of the exchanges with T.I., 50 Cent posted an unflattering photo of Tiny Harris on Instagram. That move instantly shifted the tone, because now it wasn't just about two artists anymore. It involved family in a very public way. When that line got crossed, the response came quickly. King and his older brother Damani both stepped in to defend their mother, standing together as a unit. But even though they were on the same side, their approaches felt different. Damani showed some restraint and kept things more controlled, while King came in with a lot more intensity. And that difference would end up shaping how everything played out from that point forward. King came into this loud, emotional, and non-stop, and once he started, he didn't ease up at all. His energy was intense, and it showed in everything he put out. The video where he went after 50 Cent's late mother spread across the internet fast. Within hours, it was everywhere. The words hit hard, the intent was obvious, and people reacted immediately. In that clip, King kept repeating himself, making sure the message landed exactly how he wanted. He wasn't trying to be subtle, he wanted it to sting, and for a moment, it definitely grabbed attention. But not all attention works in your favor, and this situation proved that quickly. Instead of building momentum, it started putting the spotlight on him in a way that created more problems than opportunities. And instead of pulling things back, King pushed even further. He doubled down with the t-shirts, the cannabis product, and more music aimed directly at 50. The Harris family as a whole got involved too, dropping around 6 diss tracks targeting him. King contributed records like Drop Top, going straight at 50's personal history, while Damani stepped in with his own verses to back things up. T.I. didn't stay quiet either. He added multiple tracks into the mix, talking about his catalog and throwing shots at 50's move into Hollywood. The situation turned into a full family front, with everyone playing a role, and the message was clear. They weren't backing down from anyone. When T.I. spoke on it in interviews, his stance was laid. He admitted he didn't like seeing his kids pulled into negativity, but at the same time, he respected their loyalty. He even said, "Nah, my kids ride now. making it clear they were ready to defend the family no matter what. In hip-hop culture, that kind of loyalty gets respect. It's seen as standing solid for your people. But that support also came with consequences, because while it sounded strong, it also signaled approval of how far things had gone. And King's approach, as aggressive as it was, started pushing away the same audience he needed to grow. What looked like strength in the moment slowly started turning into a problem as more people began questioning whether he had gone too far without thinking about the bigger picture. And that's where everything starts to shift in a serious way, because this is the point where the internet stops watching for entertainment and starts watching for consequences. The same clips that once gave King attention now started being replayed under a completely different lens, with people picking apart every word, every move, and every decision he made. The pressure didn't come all at once, it built up fast. Reaction channels, bloggers, and social media pages kept resurfacing his statements, lining them up next to the growing rumors about 50 Cent's documentary. Now it wasn't just about what King said in the moment, it was about how all of it could be used later, and that changed how people viewed everything. Behind the scenes, the tone reportedly started to shift too. The same confidence King showed at the start began to look a little different as talk of the documentary got louder, because this wasn't just another diss track or social media exchange. This was something structured, something permanent, something that could reach a much wider audience than a viral clip ever could.
Crazy. And then he's pulling up the old stuff where 50 Cent was in court and he pled guilty to trampling those women. He pulled that up out of, I don't even remember that. And then he also dug up the fact that 50 Cent allegedly set ablaze his baby mom's house while his child was in the home.
And when you look at 50 Cent's track record, that's where the concern really makes sense. He's not known for rushing responses. He's known for building them carefully and dropping them at the right time. If a project like this actually comes together, it wouldn't just revisit the drama, it could reframe the entire story in a way that sticks. That possibility alone started changing the conversation around King. The same boldness that once got him attention now had people questioning whether he moved too fast without thinking about the long-term impact. Because once something is documented, edited, and presented on a large platform, it hits differently than anything posted in the moment. At the same time, the Harris family found themselves in a difficult position. Standing together showed unity, but it also meant everything was now connected. Every statement, every response, every track, it all became part of one bigger narrative that people were following closely. And this is where things get real complicated, because once a situation reaches this level, there's no easy reset button. The internet doesn't forget, and it doesn't stop replaying moments that get strong reactions. What started as defense turned into escalation, and what felt like control in the moment started to look unpredictable over time. Now, all eyes are on what happens next, because if this documentary actually drops, it could lock in a version of events that's hard to challenge. And for King, that means every move from here carries more weight than ever before, whether he planned for it or not. The real issue here wasn't just emotional, it was structural, and that's what made it so dangerous. King was stepping into a situation that required patience, timing, and control, but instead he kept reacting in the moment. Every time he pushed things further, whether it was another video, another product, or another diss track, he was adding more fuel to a situation that didn't need it. And the biggest problem? None of it was getting him anything back. There was no win, no shift in leverage, no advantage gained. While King kept escalating, 50 Cent didn't even have to respond because the damage was already happening without him lifting a finger. Each move King made started to paint a picture, and it wasn't one that worked in his favor. Every new clip, every new line made him look more unpredictable, while at the same time making whatever response 50 eventually dropped feel more justified in the eyes of the public. That's how the narrative started turning, slowly but clearly. Some of King's statements, especially the ones involving a deceased parent, drew heavy criticism across the internet. A lot of people felt that crossed a line, no matter what started the conflict. To them, there's a clear difference between going back and forth with someone who can respond and bringing up someone who can't. That distinction mattered, and it shaped how people judged the situation. On top of that, the gap in experience was impossible to ignore. King, at 21, was going at someone nearly 30 years older, a media figure who has spent decades mastering strategy, timing, and public perception. That's not an even playing field, and it showed. Meanwhile, 50 Cent stayed calculated. He didn't flood the internet with tracks or long responses. Instead, he posted memes, dropped short captions, and moved in a way that kept people guessing. At one point, he even released a promo track tied to his Power Origin series with a line people took as a warning: "They are gonna learn to leave me alone." That message didn't need to be loud to be effective. The contrast was obvious. The Harris family was putting out constant content, trying to control the narrative in real time, while 50 was barely engaging, letting anticipation build naturally. And that kind of restraint isn't random, it's strategy. He's done this before, over and over. He absorbs pressure, keeps track of everything, and waits for the right moment to respond in a way that hits harder than expected. It happened with Ja Rule, it happened with Rick Ross, and the pattern never really changes.
That is crazy. My thing is T.I. happy or upset? Like, is he happy that his son is standing up for his mom? And then is he also upset that his son is taking it so far? Like, is he proud of his son? Did his son prove his worth now? Like, I want to know.
The strategy is simple but ruthless. Let the other side overextend, then come back with something they can't compete with. And in this situation, the response wasn't shaping up to be a diss track or a quick post online. It was something way bigger, something built to last. A full documentary designed not just to win a moment, but to permanently shift how people see the entire story. That's where things started to feel dangerous for the Harris side, because anticipation was building towards something much heavier than anything they had prepared for. What they were throwing out were quick hits, but what 50 Cent was lining up looked more like a long-term play that could hit all at once. If diss tracks are like shots in a rap battle, then a documentary is on a completely different level. It's structured, it's detailed, and it sticks with people longer. And 50 Cent already showed in the past that he understands how to use that kind of platform effectively. So when word started spreading in early March 2026 that he might be working on a project called Surviving T.I. and Tiny, people paid attention immediately. That title alone carried weight. It echoed Surviving R. Kelly, a docuseries that had a massive impact on public opinion and played a role in serious real-world consequences. By choosing a name like that, 50 wasn't being subtle at all. He was setting the tone before anything even dropped. This wasn't being framed as a recap of a rap feud, not even close. The way it was being talked about made it sound like something much deeper, something meant to question reputations and put everything under a microscope. And that's a completely different kind of pressure. 50 even added to the speculation himself. At one point, he posted a screenshot of a radio article talking about the documentary, and in the caption he wrote, "Remember how quiet I got before the documentary, Dame?" That line stood out because it hinted at a pattern, staying quiet, then coming back with something major. Even though that post didn't stay up long, the message was already out there. And once people connected the dots, the conversation shifted again. Now it wasn't about if things would escalate. It was about when and how big the impact would be once everything finally dropped. Thought I wasn't coming? I hope this doesn't mess up your promo tour. They're gonna ask about your 20 cases. You might want to talk to a crisis PR person. That message hit hard, and it wasn't random at all. It was direct, calculated, and meant to send a signal that something much bigger was on the way. 50 Cent has shown before that he knows how to take existing allegations, rumors, and public conversations, then shape them into something polished and impossible to ignore. When he does it, it doesn't just stay online. It turns into a full cultural moment that changes how people look at the situation long term. With that post, he was drawing a clear line. This wasn't new territory for him. He's done it before, and he's done it effectively. And now, all signs pointed to him preparing to do it again, but on an even bigger scale. The reference to 20 cases wasn't vague either. It pointed straight toward the allegations that have surrounded T.I. and Tiny since 2021, making it clear what the focus of the rumored documentary could be. and why the situation suddenly felt a lot more serious. Those allegations are not small claims. They've been a major topic of discussion for years, starting in 2021 when multiple women came forward with accusations involving misconduct, including claims of being drugged and taken advantage of in situations they described as non-consensual, and the conversation grew quickly as more voices joined in and shared similar experiences.
Mama, like your mama ain't dead. Go put some flowers on that grave.
A key figure in bringing attention to those stories was Sabrina Peterson, a former associate, who used social media to share anonymous accounts and amplify what was being said. According to those reports, some individuals described being given substances at parties and later experiencing situations they said they did not agree to. Legal action followed over time, including lawsuits that extended into 2024. However, it's important to note that many of those cases were dismissed for procedural reasons, such as timing limits under the law, and there have been no criminal convictions connected to these claims. T.I. and Tiny have consistently denied all allegations, stating that any aspects of their private life were fully consensual and pushing back strongly against the accusations. Even with that, the presence of these claims in the public space has kept the situation under attention, and if a documentary brings them back into focus, the impact could be massive. And this is where everything starts to feel heavier, because once allegations like that get pulled into a documentary format, the conversation changes completely. It's no longer scattered posts or headlines people scroll past. It becomes a structured story that people sit down, watch, and absorb from beginning to end. If this project actually moves forward, it wouldn't just repeat what's already out there. It would likely organize timelines, connect accounts, and present everything in a way that feels cohesive and hard to ignore. And that kind of presentation can reshape how the public understands a situation, even for people who haven't followed it closely before. For the Harris family, that creates a different kind of pressure. Responding to diss tracks or social media posts is one thing, but responding to a full production is something else entirely. You can't just reply with a quick video or a song and expect it to land the same way. The scale is different, and the impact lasts longer. At the same time, public opinion doesn't wait for full context. It reacts in real time. Clips get shared, quotes get pulled, and narratives start forming before the full picture is even seen, which makes this kind of situation unpredictable, because once it starts moving, it's hard to slow down. There's also the timing factor, and that's where things get even more calculated. Dropping something like this during key moments like tours, releases, or major appearances can shift attention instantly, turning promotion into answering difficult questions and changing the entire tone of a rollout. For King specifically, this brings everything back around in a way he might not have expected, because now all of his earlier actions, the videos, the comments, the tracks, they don't exist on their own anymore. They become part of a bigger storyline that people will revisit with fresh eyes. And that's the part that hits hardest, because what once felt like quick reactions now carries long-term weight. The internet already saved everything, but a documentary could give those moments a new context and a wider audience at the same time. At this stage, it's not just about who said what anymore. It's about who controls the narrative moving forward. And if this project actually drops, it could define how this entire situation is remembered, not just now, but way down the line. But here's the reality. A documentary doesn't need a conviction to have impact. What it needs is a strong narrative, something structured, edited, and presented in a way that pulls everything together into one story people can follow. And with 50 Cent's production power and media reach, he has exactly what's needed to build something like that from the ground up. This isn't guesswork either. There's already a clear example of how effective that approach can be. Surviving R. Kelly didn't create a conviction by itself, but it shifted public opinion in a major way, changing how people talked about the situation, how they viewed the allegations, and bringing a level of attention that couldn't be ignored. And that shift created pressure that mattered. Now it looks like a similar blueprint could be in play here, and for T.I., the stakes are extremely high, as he spent years building an image beyond music, positioning himself as a leader, a businessman, someone involved in community work and public speaking, with ventures like the Trap Music Museum and real estate moves, all tying into a reputation that has been carefully built over time.
Mama, listen, your mama, Jay.
A documentary that brings those past allegations back into focus, especially in a polished, widely viewed format, could disrupt all of that quickly. Partnerships could get shaky, public support could shift, and opportunities that rely on public trust could start to fade, showing just how powerful perception can be when it changes all at once. And for King, the situation connects directly to his future. His music career is still developing, and a big part of his visibility comes from his last name and the platform that comes with it. That connection opens doors, but it also means any damage to the family name can follow him just as fast. If the Harris brand takes a hit, King feels it too, and not in a small way. It can affect how labels view him, how audiences respond to his music, and how seriously he's taken moving forward. Challenges that can't be fixed with a diss track or a viral moment. At this level, everything is tied together. Reputation, business, family, and future. And if this documentary becomes reality, it won't just be another chapter in a feud. It could reshape how all of it is seen going forward. Labels start thinking twice when an artist is surrounded by controversy, and that's just the reality of the business. Collaborators begin to step back, playlists get curated more carefully, and opportunities don't come as easily as before. If a documentary like this lands the way people expect, the ripple effects wouldn't just stay online. They could hit every part of King's career, right when he's trying to stand on his own as an independent artist. And what makes the situation even tougher is the irony behind it all. King stepped into this to defend his family name, to protect it and stand up for it publicly. But in doing that, he may have unintentionally added more material to the very narrative working against them. Every video, every comment, every heated moment, it's all out there. Clips of him going after 50 Cent's mother could easily be pulled into a larger story and replayed in a completely different context. Lyrics from diss tracks can be quoted, broken down, and used to paint a certain image, and what felt like defense in the moment can be reframed as something else entirely when it's edited and presented to a wider audience. That's where things start to shift from reaction to consequence, because once content leaves your control, it can be reshaped in ways you didn't intend. And in this case, King's most aggressive moments might end up being used as key pieces in a much bigger narrative. There have even been reports and online chatter suggesting that T.I. was deeply affected by early leaks and the direction this was heading, with some gossip platforms going further and painting King as someone who jumped into a situation too big and is now trying to figure a way out. And while that hasn't been confirmed, the conversation alone shows how quickly perception can change. As for claims that King may have tried to reach out to 50 Cent, nothing has been verified. But people understand why that idea is even being discussed, because this isn't just another rap moment anymore. It's something that could carry long-term consequences on a completely different level. Right now, the shift is noticeable. King Harris, who was once everywhere during the peak of the back and forth, has gone much quieter, and that silence is being watched just as closely as everything he said before, because at this stage, every move or lack of one is part of the story too. And that silence is loud in its own way, because when someone who was once everywhere suddenly pulls back, people start asking questions fast, with the same platforms that were amplifying King's voice now analyzing his absence and trying to figure out what changed and what might be coming next. Some see it as a strategic move, stepping back before things escalate even further, while others see it as pressure finally catching up, especially with the possibility of a documentary hanging over everything. But either way, the shift in energy is clear, and it's happening at a moment where every decision carries more weight than before. Behind the scenes, this is where real decisions get made. Teams start getting involved, conversations get more serious, and the focus shifts from reacting emotionally to thinking long-term. Because once something reaches this level, it's no longer just about pride or winning an argument. It's about protecting careers, reputations, and future opportunities.
For King, this could be a turning point. He can either continue down the same path, responding loudly and keeping the conflict alive, or he can pivot and start rebuilding his image in a way that separates him from the chaos. And that's not easy, especially when the internet already has a fixed impression. At the same time, 50 Cent's approach hasn't changed. He's still moving quietly, still letting speculation build, and still allowing the conversation to grow without giving too much away. And that kind of patience keeps people locked in, because the unknown becomes part of the story. The longer that gap stays open, the more tension builds around what might drop next. People start connecting dots, revisiting old clips, and forming opinions before anything is even confirmed. And that's how anticipation works. It creates momentum without needing constant updates. For the Harris family, unity still matters, but now it comes with a different kind of challenge. Standing together publicly is one thing, but navigating a situation like this behind the scenes requires coordination, timing, and careful messaging, where every move has to be thought through, because one wrong step can bring everything back into the spotlight instantly. At this stage, it's no longer just about a feud, it's about control over the narrative and what the future looks like after all of this settles. And the reality is, whatever happens next won't just affect this moment, it's going to shape how people remember everyone involved long after the noise dies down. The wave of diss tracks has slowed down, and the energy around the merch and cannabis branding isn't as loud as it was before. What once felt non-stop is clearly cooled off, at least on the surface. But the big question is why? Is it because King reached out behind the scenes, got advice from family or management, or simply realized things were getting out of control? That part isn't public, and only him and his circle really know what led to the shift. T.I., on the other hand, hasn't stepped back at all. If anything, he's standing firm and pushing forward with confidence. And when the documentary rumors started heating up, he didn't stay quiet. He responded directly and challenged 50 Cent to go head-to-head in any format, even saying he's ready for doc, which sends a message that either he's not worried about what might come out, or he's making sure he looks unshaken in front of the public. To be fair, T.I. isn't new to pressure. He's dealt with serious legal situations in the past, including federal charges that led to prison time, and he's managed to navigate public controversy before. And that kind of experience can change how someone reacts to situations like this, making something that looks overwhelming to others feel more manageable to him. But here's where the difference really shows. What might be manageable for someone with decades in the spotlight is not the same for someone still figuring things out, because King is only 21, and this level of attention, pressure, and long-term consequence is a completely different challenge. Just weeks ago, King was moving with full confidence, speaking loudly, pushing back hard, and acting like the Harris name alone could carry him through anything. And that energy was real and drove everything he did during the peak of the situation. But now the reality is starting to look different, because a diss track and a documentary don't operate the same way at all. One is quick, reactive, and fades with time, while the other sticks around, gets replayed, discussed, and brought up again long after the moment passes. A diss track might dominate for a few days, maybe a week, but a documentary lives on platforms, gets clipped, analyzed, and referenced in conversations for years, making it a completely different level of impact. King may have been ready for a fast-moving back and forth, something loud and immediate, but what's coming now, if it arrives, is slower, heavier, and much harder to shake off once it lands. He might have been ready for a back and forth in music, but this is something completely different. This isn't just rap anymore. This is a full media war. And going up against someone who literally builds media empires for a living is a whole different level of challenge. Online reactions have been split right down the middle. On platforms like X and Reddit, some people are giving 50 Cent credit for staying patient and playing the long game, seeing the documentary move as a final checkmate that doesn't just win the moment, but ends the whole conversation without needing a single diss track. But not everyone sees it that way. Others are questioning the balance of it all, pointing out that you've got a 50-year-old media powerhouse with major resources, huge platforms, and industry reach, going head-to-head with a 21-year-old whose main presence is on social media. And that gap in age, experience, and power stands out and doesn't sit right with some people, even if they think King played a role in escalating things. At the same time, there's a bigger conversation happening underneath all of this, with people asking what this situation says about hip-hop right now, because the culture has always rewarded boldness, standing your ground, and matching energy when challenged.
and that's been part of its identity for years. But things aren't the same anymore. The rules have shifted, and the people at the top aren't just artists. They're brands, business figures, and content creators with full teams behind them, which changes how battles play out because the tools are no longer limited to music alone. Now the reach goes way beyond the studio into streaming platforms, production deals, and social media networks all working together, meaning the impact of a move like a documentary hits differently than anything from the past. 100 diss tracks might control the moment, trend, and get people talking for a while, but a documentary can reshape how someone is seen completely, sticking to their name and following them into future deals, interviews, and opportunities. And that's the shift happening right in front of everyone. This isn't just about who has better bars anymore. It's about who controls the bigger narrative and who has the tools to make that narrative last. Everything comes full circle here, because what started as a loud, emotional clash has turned into something far more calculated and long-lasting. The noise of the moment is fading, but the consequences are just getting started, and that's what people are paying attention to now. What's happening isn't just about two sides going at each other anymore. It's about how power works in today's industry. One side moved fast, reacted in real time, and put everything out there for the world to see, while the other stayed quiet, observed, and potentially lined up something that could land all at once and shift everything. That contrast shows the difference between reacting to a moment and controlling a narrative over time. And in this case, that difference could decide how this entire situation is remembered moving forward. For King, this is a moment that could define his path in a big way, not just because of what already happened, but because of what he does next, as pulling back, moving smarter, and choosing when to speak could change how people view him just as much as those earlier viral moments did. At the same time, the audience is more aware than ever, watching not just for drama, but for strategy, outcomes, and who actually gains something when everything settles. And that level of attention makes every move feel bigger because it's being analyzed in real time and remembered long after. And if the documentary does drop, it won't just reopen the conversation, it could redefine it completely, bringing in new viewers, new opinions, and a level of scrutiny that goes far beyond the original back and forth, creating a shift that doesn't fade quickly, but sticks and keeps resurfacing.
For the Harris family, that means the focus isn't just on responding anymore, it's on adapting. Because once the battlefield changes, the same strategies don't work the same way. And what worked in a fast-moving online exchange won't necessarily work against something structured and widely distributed. At this point, the story isn't just about conflict, it's about evolution, about how situations grow, how narratives are shaped, and how quickly things can move from entertainment into something with real consequences. Right now, everything is sitting in that tension, waiting to see what drops next, because whatever comes after this won't just add to the story, it might end up defining it completely. Everything feels like it's at a standstill, but it's not calm, it's pressure building under the surface, that quiet phase where nothing major has dropped yet, but everybody knows something could happen at any moment, making the silence feel even bigger. There are more questions than answers. Will the documentary actually be released, or is the idea of it already doing enough on its own? Because even without footage or a trailer, just the possibility has already shifted how people are talking about everyone involved. That's the power of anticipation. It creates pressure without needing proof. People start forming opinions early, picking sides, revisiting old clips, and connecting dots whether they have the full story or not. And once those opinions settle in, they're hard to change no matter what comes later. For King, this moment is critical, not because of what he already said, but because of what he does from here, as every move now feels amplified, every post, every appearance, even silence itself becomes part of the narrative people are watching closely. There's also the reality that opportunities don't wait forever. In the music industry, timing matters, momentum matters, and public perception can open doors just as fast as it can close them. So if the focus stays on controversy, it becomes harder to shift attention back to the music, which is a tough position for any artist trying to grow. At the same time, 50 Cent doesn't need to rush anything. His position allows him to move at his own pace, and that's what makes this even more unpredictable. Because the longer he waits,
the more the tension builds and the more impact whatever he drops could have. That imbalance keeps showing itself, one side reacting to what's happening now, while the other is potentially setting up something that lands later but hits harder, and that difference in timing can decide everything. Meanwhile, the audience is locked in, watching closely, debating every angle, and waiting for the next development, because at this point, it's not just about what's true or false, it's about what sticks, what people remember, and what gets repeated the most. And that's the final layer to all of this. In situations like this, perception can become reality over time, and the story that gets told the loudest and the longest often becomes the version people believe.
So right now, everything is hanging in that space between what's already happened and what might be coming next. And once that next move is made, whatever it is, it won't just continue the story, it could decide how this entire situation is defined from here on out. That's the world King Harris stepped into the moment he started posting about 50 Cent's mother, and it's a world that doesn't play by the old rules anymore, where what looked like a regular back and forth turned into something much bigger, because he was moving like it was just rap, while the game around him had already changed completely. And then there's the other side of this, 50 Cent's motivation, because if this documentary is real, it's not just about the beef, not even close. It serves multiple purposes at once, feeding content into his production company, keeping his name active in headlines, and reinforcing the image he's built over the years as someone you don't want to cross. That's been his pattern for a long time. He doesn't just respond, he turns situations into opportunities, into content, into something that keeps working for him long after the moment passes. And with this situation, whether the documentary actually drops or not, it may have already done exactly what it was meant to do, because the threat alone changed everything. The energy shifted, the tone changed, and the balance of power moved without a single frame being released, which is what makes it so effective, since it doesn't even have to land to have impact. And for King, this might be the toughest lesson there is in this industry. It's not about who speaks the loudest or reacts the fastest. It's about who has the most leverage, who controls the bigger platform, and who can shape the story in a way that lasts. King came in with words, with energy, with volume, but 50 came in with infrastructure, reach, and a history of turning moments like this into something much bigger. And that difference is what defined everything that followed. And if those reports about King trying to step back or make contact are true, that's not weakness, that's awareness, realizing the scale of what he stepped into and understanding that this isn't something you can out-talk or outpost your way through. The reality is that understanding may have come a little too late to stop what's already been set in motion, and once something like this gets rolling, it doesn't slow down easily. At the end of the day, this situation isn't just about a feud, it's about how the game has evolved and how quickly things can shift when different levels of power collide. If you made it this far, make sure you like, subscribe, share this video, and drop a comment with your thoughts, because this story is still unfolding and there's a lot more to talk about.